Hello, hello, hello. How is everyone? Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm so glad to be here with you. I am ready to talk with you about a couple of things. I have decided to do a quick series on a couple of things that many people deal with, some of us deal with, you deal with. I just wanted to talk to you about some things that sometimes they're not spoken about or you wonder about, and you hope that someone else will talk to you about them. And so, if you don't know me, my name is Sheila Ingram. You have tuned in to the Bravo with Sheila Network. And I am here tonight, today, this afternoon, wherever you are, in whatever country you're in, whatever land that you're in, whatever state that you're in. I come to you to speak to you from the hat of my counseling hat. Some of you know me as wearing different hats, and today I'm wearing the counselor hat to chat with you about something I think that is so very important, and we're going to start understanding generational traumas. Many of us have walked through so many things, so many traumas. Some have been overcomers of these traumas, and some are trying to navigate through the traumas that life has offered them. And so I understand that, just as being a woman, as being a human being, that if you are living for a certain length of time, excuse me, then you have been through something. Children go through traumas, young teens go through trauma. Life offers different types of situations and circumstances that we as humans have to find a way to fight through, to get through, in order to have a happy, fruitful life, right? We are all born with purpose, a purpose that should be left here on this earth. Many don't even know what their purpose is because they haven't tapped into it yet. But nevertheless, you are born with a purpose. You were born to win. And many times life comes and depletes us and withdraws from us. And a lot of times we just don't get enough deposits in our lives. So today I want to deposit just a little bit of information while we dive into this topic, generational traumas and transgenerational traumas. I want to talk about it with you. I don't want to be here long. I just want to kind of hit it and quit it just to offer you some information. This broadcast is for informational purposes only. And that is why I'm here to offer information, and maybe hopefully you can take some jewels from it. It may give you some understanding, right? It may highlight some things in your life to give you understanding. And so that's what we want to do today. We want to chat a little bit. I have decided to put a few series, not series, but topics up on the network that we'll be going through each week. And I hope that you tap into it. I hope that it will help you. I hope that it'll cause you to pause, stop, pause, and think, like ponder on some things about your life, because we know that when nothing changes, nothing changes. And what do we have to do? We have to learn to keep it moving. Sometimes we find ourselves in a broken place, a stuck place, and don't know which way to go. We don't know which way is up. But today, let's just jump into some information on what is generational trauma, right? First, let's tap into what is, I'd like to share with you first about transgenerational traumas. It's also known as intergenerational traumas. And this is a transmission of traumatic experiences, from one generation to the next generation. And it can manifest in all different types of colors and all different, it'll show up in different types of ways. It manifests in a psychological behavior, a social and biological ways as well. People who experience transgenerational trauma can show a different types of symptoms of trauma without having experienced the trauma themselves. Did you hear what I said? People, listen to me, who experience transgenerational trauma may show symptoms of the trauma without even being the one who have experienced the trauma themselves. And this is why it's called that generational piece is inside of it. The trauma is usually transmitted, listen, subconsciously through the family environment. Through what? The family environment, and it can definitely affect the development and can affect children, even grandchildren. Listen, for an example, a mother who experienced sexual abuse, SA, and doesn't seek help may develop symptoms of PTSD, such as anxiety. It could manifest in low self esteem and depression. These symptoms can be passed on to her, passed on to the mother, and passed on to children. Evidence suggests that offspring can even be affected by parental trauma before they're born or even before conception. I know that is powerful, but it is so true. Transgenerational trauma can be caused by a variety of experiences, including racism, slavery, the Holocaust, or even genocides. So I want to tap into this just a little bit. The transgenerational trauma is a collective experience that affects groups of people because of their cultural identity. My God. And so a classic example of transgenerational trauma is a family would be, listen, childhood abuse that causes a cycle of abuse and anxiety in ongoing generations. That means it doesn't necessarily have to pass through you per se, but it came through the bloodline. We call these in Christendom generational curses or generational effects of what happened from generations past. And so this allows the cycle to continue, and common symptoms of intergenerational trauma includes low self-esteem, depression and anxiety, and insomnia as well, and anger and self-destructive behavior. Self-destructive behavior. And so I thought it would be a wonderful thing to talk about this and to just grow together in understanding this a little bit more. So if you have ancestors or older relatives who went through a very distressing or oppressive event, their emotional and behavior actions could ripple. That means ripple through the generations of your family and affect you and affect you. This is called intergenerational trauma. And I want you to understand this, that it can be passed down. A growing body of research suggests that trauma, like from childhood abuse, family violence, or insecurity, among so many other things, can be passed down from one generation to the next. Trauma can leave, listen to me, trauma can leave a chemical mark on a person's genes. A chemical mark on a person's genes, which can then be what? Passed down to future generations. Future generations. So, how to heal transgenerational trauma, we're not going to get into all of that right now. But what we're going to do now is we're going to segue into what is generational trauma. I know that this is a lot of information that you may be pondering on, but that is the intent. This is an intentional broadcast for you to ponder on it, because experts are learning more and more about who is vulnerable to generational trauma and how it manifests in families and how it manifests in communities. So much like traditions, like when you think of heirlooms and hair color and secret family recipes, right? They get passed down through families. People who can inherit the same trauma through passed down generation. People can also inherit this. So generational trauma, known as intergenerational and transgenerational trauma, is a cycle of trauma that passes through families. Say that, a cycle that passes through families. Generational trauma occurs through biological environment, psychological, and social means, right? Some evidence, listen, suggests that generational trauma can happen in the uterus, Yes, yes. For example, a fetus being exposed to chemicals involved in a certain maternal stress that impact future development. It can impact future development. A fetus and a uterus can, the stress that a mother goes through can impact this fetus. So a lot goes on when we talk about generational, intergenerational, but more research is needed, we understand, to fully uncover the impact of generational trauma and how it presents itself. There's still a lot of information out here. There's a lot of research going on. But tonight, we're understanding generational trauma right here. Again, this broadcast is for informational purposes only. So trauma is a response to a devastating event resulting in adverse physical and emotional outcomes. Traumatic events may include abuse, discrimination, natural disaster, racism, and war. Generational trauma is trauma that extends from one generation to the next. It begins when a group experiences a traumatic event that causes economic, cultural, or familiar distress, family distress, and familiar things that come your way, familiar things that find their way to you, right? They're familiar things to you, but when you really trace where that familiarity is coming from, where that common feeling of something is off, or this feels like something, you can tap into understanding that it might be from a generation prior. So we need information on past generations. We need to understand the things that generations before us have gone through and how it has found itself in today, in your life, in your family's life. So it's a familiar thing. Once you get to understand and know what it is, it becomes familiar to you. But when sometimes people feel and have these feelings and can't really put a finger on it, and it feels like a familiar situation, like this feels like this has been done before, or I'm feeling something I don't quite understand. And sometimes people have classified it when they've come in my office that they feel this feeling like it's a familiar feeling and they can't place it. They can't understand it. Let me tell you, the Lord God will speak in so many different ways to get you prompted and prompt you to understand certain things about you, to dig deeper, to find out more about you and your past generations, right? And so we need to pay attention to even the signals within us that we don't really understand. We don't understand why we feel a certain way. Have you been somewhere before and walk in and says, it feels like I've been here before. It feels like I did this before. These are things, these are familiar feelings, and you can't really pinpoint where they come from. With generational traumas, right? Because the trauma actually happened to someone, not necessarily you. You kind of inherited these generational traumas through the bloodline. We talked about the uterus, the baby in the uterus. When babies come out with all types of trauma, we know what happens when a baby is under stress in the uterus. A baby is being affected by drugs in the uterus. We know that so many things happen via transmittal, right? We know that things happen through generations prior to us that we didn't even know. But today we need to pay attention and try to find out more information. If you're going through something and you're trying to pinpoint it and you see it prominent in your family and it seems like it can't be broken, that it's going from generation to generation, maybe you're the one who has to break that cycle. Maybe you're the one, because you're hearing this, have to sit down, stop, pause, and reflect and think about breaking. It could be alcoholism in the family. It could be drug addiction. It could be a spirit of lust. It could be whatever it is. It could come down through the line of generational traumas. And so people who experience trauma may develop health conditions like anxiety and depression and heart disease. Now, post-traumatic stress disorder, also known as PTSD, subsequent generations may inherit trauma and those health conditions through factors like discrimination and prejudice. This is another trauma that is passed down. I don't even have to step in to break that down because we see a lot of people in their behavior who adopted or inherited and still have the mindset of things that happen, and they still can feel the pain and the sting of it, the brunt of it, even though they weren't even born at the time or they didn't even experience it themselves. Oh my goodness. It could be silent. It could be covert and undefined. This is what I'm talking about. Surfacing through nuances and inadvertently taught or implied throughout someone's life from an early age and onward. So examples of generational traumas that many have gone through, we can talk about Black Americans. And an article published in 2020 looked at the changes due to chronic stress and nutritional deficiencies of Black Americans during slavery in the United States. And the author found that those changes have led to poor physical and mental health outcomes among Black Americans, right? For example, listen, researchers has found that generational trauma contributes to high risk for anxiety. I want you to understand what we're talking about today. It contributes to depression and high blood pressure among Black Americans. It's a cycle of generational trauma. Again, maybe you're the one that's going to break that cycle over your family. We even have the Holocaust survivors. In 1966, Canadian psychiatrist Vivian M. Rakoff and colleagues were some of the first to recognize the concept of generational trauma. The research team recorded high rates of psychological distress among children of who were what? Survived the Holocaust. Oh my goodness. Some evidence even suggests that changes may cause generational trauma among families affected by the Holocaust. There's been many, many studies, and we know that there's the indigenous communities that suffer a lot of traumatic experience and trauma. Indigenous communities have experienced generational trauma, the loss of culture, land, and population. That is a trauma. That is something people still haven't recovered from. Land that was taken, land that is still being taken. So many different things happen inside of this population. And trauma persists due to discrimination, which is huge in our African American and brown communities. This is huge in our communities. This discrimination and the prejudice against the indigenous communities, right? In a study published in 2019, researchers found that 15% of indigenous people reported not seeking health care services due to what? The big word, discrimination in what? Medical settings. Yes. And as a result, some evidence that indigenous communities are they're likely to have poor mental and physical health outcomes than others due to generational trauma. So generational trauma, signs and symptoms. I'm hoping that you're going to be the one to break it. You're going to be the one to stop the cycle. Hallelujah. Listen, a lack of self-worth, anxiety, signs and symptoms we're talking about, depersonalization or feeling detached from yourself and your surroundings, depression, emotional numbness, impaired life skills, PTSD symptoms, which we talked about, feeling socially isolated, having negative thoughts or losing interest in hobbies. We have to pay attention around those that we love, those that we are responsible for. We need to just never just look at the outer of a person, but look deep into the heart of a person, look into the emotional status of a person that you're around. Check in, do wellness checks with people, because these symptoms and these traumas sometimes don't have a voice because people hide behind it, or they don't know how to express it, don't even understand that it's not even theirs, that they actually were the one to receive it, but they're the one who inherited it through the bloodline, through the generation. Some evidence suggests that generational trauma might affect the immune system. A study published in 2021 looked at genes related to immune health among the children of the Holocaust survivors. Oh my goodness. So it may lead to a dysfunctional immune system. These are things we need to wake up and listen and learn and pay attention to. We need to pray against this. We need to pray for our families. We need to pray and cut off the generational curses that have found their way into your generation. This is not something that just will fly away or go away. This is something you must take heed to and be intentional about. So what causes generational trauma begins when a group collectively experiences a horrific event. I said that to you. So they are risk factors. Everyone is susceptible to generational trauma. Events that can result in generational trauma include adverse experiences during childhood, discrimination, natural disasters, racism, sexual abuse, and war. There are specific, listen to me, specific groups of people who are vulnerable due to their history. It's all about the root system. It's all about your history. It's all about the soil you're standing in. We have to turn that soil around. We have to pluck up and pull up the contaminated root system and replant the newness, replant the new purpose, replant the freedom that we must have, and walking out our purpose, and not allow generational traumas and generational curses and generational experiences, negative ones, cause us and cut our life short and catch our purpose in a lock and a chokehold. We have to be able to be free, right? To not let it grip us, to catch us and catch us in a situation where we find ourselves caught in a lock, in a chokehold, that we can't move or grow from these particular things that we're talking about right now. Right now, we know that these things are very, very serious, and being systematically exploited during repeated, continual abuse, racism, and poverty are traumatic enough, my God, to cause genetic changes. I hope that this is something that you're pondering on. I hope that you're reflecting on the very thing that has found its way through your family line. So the trauma diagnosis, there is no specific diagnosis of generational trauma, no diagnostic statistical manual of mental disorder, but in the DS, there's a book, some of us who are in this field, the DSM Manual of Mental Disorders. It's the 5th edition now, I believe, if it hasn't changed, is the standard mental health care providers use to diagnose mental health conditions. Still, the phenomenon is well accepted among experts about this trauma, about this generational trauma. We know trauma can manifest itself through stress and anxiety, fight or flight, or other heightened alert systems in our brain and in our bodies. But intergenerational trauma can also mask itself. It can mask itself through learned belief, behaviors, and patterns that become ingrained. That's why I'm saying we need to pay attention to those that are around us, our children, our immediate and our distant family, our friends, our colleagues. There are silent signals that will not be seen. What are you saying? A signal is silent? Yes, it is. But how do we know it? Because we have to look at those silent signals that are not verbally being said, but maybe the behavior is expressing it. And just don't bypass people and think everyone is okay. Maybe you're not responsible for their generational trauma, but maybe a kind word, maybe talking to them may help them get to a place where they can eventually get to talk to someone else so that these things can be uncovered and that they can be freed from this chokehold. So, although there is no test to diagnose generational trauma, listen to me. We know that healthcare provider can use a mental health screening to check for mental illness, mental illness if your family has a history of trauma. A mental health screening is a good thing. It involves a set of questions about your appetite, your feelings, your sleep. How are you living? How are you learning? What is your behavior like? You might fill out some questionnaire at some point to just see where you are. I hope that this blessed you today. Treatments for generational trauma, there's no easy answer for it, but healing from generational trauma can include accepting the trauma, its effects, and how you may treat it. Number one. Number two, pinpointing signs and symptoms that may relate to the trauma. Number three, resisting environments that worsen the effects of the trauma. Those are things that trigger you. Those are things when you walk into a particular room and suddenly you get nervous and anxious. What has triggered you? What is that feeling that you're feeling? Why are you feeling it? Don't ignore what you're feeling. So psychotherapy or talk therapy helps to lessen or resolve the effects of generational trauma. I want you to know that. And based on your experience, a mental health care provider can advise coping strategies. Counseling can help. Getting a therapist can help. Getting with someone who knows how to pray you through something and break some spiritual strongholds. Listen, there's the spiritual realm and there's the natural realm. I'm for both. Listen, when it can't work in the natural and it's not working, I go in the spirit. I go in prayer to break down the very thing that's trying to choke the life out of me or my loved ones. So I want you to know that I just wanted to stop and share this with you. There is a number on the screen going across the ticker that might help you if you or someone you know is looking for someone to talk to help them through a season, to help them break through some traumatic experiences that they themselves have gone through or that they have inherited. I hope that this little chat with you gave you some enlightenment and gave you some encouragement. I hope that you will be the one to break the cycle. Say, I'm going to be the one to break the cycle. Break the cycle. Break the cycle. Break the cycle. Do not let it move and grow and pass on to the next generation. Pull up the negative roots. Pull up the contaminated roots. Turn that dirt around. Let it become fresh soil so that you may walk in purpose and you may live out your purpose, and you will not allow the generational, transgenerational curses and traumas to come to rob you. My name is Sheila Ingram. I'm a licensed clinical professional counselor. I hope that this helped you today. I hope that you will keep coming back next week as we have another short video for you to watch so that you can be enlightened and learn some things about your emotional well-being for you and your family. Listen, it's a great day here on the East Coast, and I'm so happy that you are here. I hope that you hit that thumbs up button. I hope that you like and subscribe to the channel. We are trying to press our way on the Bravo with Sheila network to 1,000 subs. I think we're at 900. We need 100 more. We love you. We want you to come on in and sit and join us every week on Monday nights Beyond the Mic, Tuesday with me at the Counseling Corner, and then Thursday you can stop by Thursday night with Dawn B right here on the Bravo with Sheila network. And those of you who want some spiritual food, cross the YouTube streets, the Sheila Ingram Ministry broadcast. Listen, you can tap in on Tuesday mornings at 10 a.m. Pastor Rosa is on. The Women of Grace is on 11 a.m. every single Fridays. But, say but, we are on vacation. We'll see you in September where we'll come back and continue our series. On Wednesday, sometime we have Prophet Donald from Ghana, and we're just doing so many different things. We do commanding your mornings at 6:30 in the morning, sometimes Monday mornings or Wednesday mornings. We do what is it we do? Progressive revelation. We have went through the Bible, pulling out all the prophecies of the Bible. Listen, just go head over and to the Bravo with Sheila Network and like, subscribe, and share, and hit that bell so you know when we're going live, right? You get notification. Also, hit the bell here, subscribe here, and hit the thumbs up. Thank you so much once again for tuning in. I will see you next week with our next chat on mental growth, mental health, and moving from pain to power and from power to victory, because you will walk in victory. I speak it and I say it over your life. Let's get out of here. Let's get out of here. Let me take down my ticker. And then I want to thank you and let you know that nowyoutalking.com is the place where you can find me. Just go to nowyoutalking.com and just click on my name, or reach out to me at 914-218. What is my number? 914-218-1088. Thank you so very much. I'm so glad that you're here, and I'm so glad that you stop by all the time, all the time. Just come and chat with me.